I did. It was so fun. Oh my God, as a huge Disney fan, it was so exciting to finally get to go to D23.
Yeah.
I live on the East Coast, so I was never able to go, and also tickets sell out like in a
Hi, this is Eileen. Oh my God, I finally got to go to D23 and it was such an amazing experience. As a massive Disney fan living on the East Coast, I never thought I'd actually get to go. Tickets sell out so fast, and traveling all the way to California always seemed like a dream. But this year, it happened, and let me tell you, it was everything I hoped for and more. Oh, now, let's dive into one of the most talked about topics at D23 and beyond, Disney's live-action Snow White. This project isn't just another remake. It's become a flashpoint for almost every big debate in Hollywood, from representation to staying true to classic storytelling. With all the buzz and backlash, you have to wonder, could this end up being Disney's biggest disaster in recent years? It all started when Disney announced Rachel Zegler as the new Snow White. At first, the news seemed exciting. A fresh face, ready to bring new life to one of Disney's most iconic characters. Many fans were thrilled to see the studio take bold steps toward inclusivity, though some were understandably nervous about whether it might stray too far from the timeless charm of the 1937 classic. Either way, Rachel's casting had people talking. But then, things started to unravel. While Rachel confidently owned her spotlight at red carpet events, her social media presence began to raise eyebrows. She showed moments of genuine passion, but there were also hints of a combative tone in her interactions with fans. Most shrugged it off. After all, this was Disney's Snow White. The real test would be her performance on screen, right? Well, that test came much sooner than anyone expected. Before production even hit full steam, Rachel made headlines for a polarizing comment on social media. She boldly stated that if people didn't support a particular political figure, they could go ahead and unfollow her. Now, political opinions in Hollywood aren't exactly shocking, but Disney is different. For decades, the brand has stood for nostalgia, escapism, and bringing people together. Rachel's statement, though, landed like a ton of bricks. It felt like she was drawing a line in the sand, with me or against me, and it didn't sit well with a big chunk of Disney's audience. From that moment on, the cracks in the excitement began to show. Fans who had been cautiously optimistic suddenly felt alienated. What was supposed to be a magical revival of a beloved fairy tale was starting to feel like something else entirely. People who might have overlooked Rachel Zegler's smaller missteps began paying closer attention, almost waiting for the next one to land, and it didn't take long. To understand how we got here, let's rewind to her breakout role in West Side Story. Critics praised her performance and fans admired her incredible singing talent. On the surface, she seemed poised for Hollywood stardom, but subtle warning signs hinted that Rachel might struggle to handle fame with humility. Shortly after West Side Story's release, Rachel sparked controversy when she publicly lamented not being invited to the 94th Academy Awards, even though the film was nominated for multiple categories. Instead of handling the situation privately or with grace, she turned to social media, dramatically announcing she'd be spending the night in sweatpants. What could have been a minor grievance quickly exploded into an online debate about entitlement. When Disney suddenly found her a seat at the event, many couldn't help but wonder, was this a one-off incident or a glimpse of what was to come? In hindsight, that question feels almost prophetic. Later, Rachel's comments while promoting Shazam, Fury of the Gods, added more fuel to the fire. She candidly stated that she took the role because she needed a job, a remark that came across as dismissive to some fans. These moments, combined with her growing social media presence, began to paint a picture of a star whose off-screen persona sometimes overshadowed her on-screen talent. Meanwhile, Disney was barreling forward with its live-action Snow White, a reimagining that felt increasingly out of step with the charm of the 1937 classic. Fans were already skeptical about the direction the film was taking, and Rachel's polarizing remarks only magnified the tension. Many hoped she would eventually issue a heartfelt apology, or at least clarify her comments in a way that showed she understood the backlash. Instead, what they got felt more like a carefully rehearsed message from Disney's PR team than a personal reflection. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ernie. Rachel posted a solemn video, insisting she was misunderstood and had never intended to disrespect the legacy of Snow White. But the internet can sniff out inauthenticity in a heartbeat. The response was swift and brutal. Fans flooded comment sections, calling the apology too little, too late, and clearly scripted. Some described it as textbook corporate damage control, devoid of any genuine emotional investment. Rather than soothing tensions, the video seemed to deepen the divide. Rachel's words didn't acknowledge how her comments had alienated fans, and many felt the lack of accountability only confirmed their suspicions. The fallout was swift. Social media erupted with parodies and critiques. Comedians and influencers jumped on the moment, with some sarcastically rewriting her apology and others dissecting every facial expression and word choice. YouTubers churned out reaction videos, and the general sentiment solidified. Rachel Zegler wasn't just part of the Snow White controversy, she had become its biggest liability. All of this couldn't have come at a worse time for Disney. With a reported budget exceeding $200 million, plus hefty marketing costs, the stakes for Snow White were sky high. Analysts estimated the film would need to gross $400 and $600 million just to break even, but the relentless controversy threatened to sink the project before it even hit theaters. What began as an ambitious reimagining of a beloved classic had spiraled into a PR nightmare, with no clear resolution in sight. Even under normal circumstances, a Snow White remake would seem like a guaranteed hit, but controversy has a way of overshadowing even the most iconic properties. Then came the bombshell. Disney announced the film's release would be delayed by an entire year. Officially, they blamed the actors' strike, but whispers in the industry told a different story. Panic. Whoa. Early previews faced a tidal wave of dislikes, far outnumbering likes, signaling a backlash unlike anything Disney had seen. What's more, the relentless calls to boycott the film weren't just random online grumblings. They were organized, deliberate, and coming from a significant chunk of Disney's core audience. Inside Disney headquarters, the atmosphere was reportedly tense. Later, when Disney headquarters were reclaimed for the first time, Kay later wrote in her diary, crisis meetings were rumored, with branding experts suggesting that keeping Rachel Zegler as the film's main spokesperson might be a mistake. But what could Disney do? Rachel was the face of the film. Trying to minimize her presence could appear like an admission of guilt, potentially fanning the flames of controversy even further. In other words, Disney was stuck between a poisoned apple and a hard place. As the controversy gained steam, even more troubling stories began to surface. Rumors swirled that Rachel had contributed to internal divisions over the firing of other Disney-affiliated performers who had made their own controversial comments. Fans were quick to draw comparisons, accusing Rachel of hypocrisy for telling part of the audience to unfollow her for political disagreements, while others had reportedly been let go for less. The word hypocrisy started trending, dragging Disney's reputation as a family-friendly, impartial brand into murkier waters, alongside the fact that Disney violated. Meanwhile, social media chatter claimed there was strife behind the scenes. Was Disney secretly furious with Rachel for overshadowing the film with her off-screen antics? Had the creative team been forced to rework the script to align with her critiques of the original storyline? While no official answers emerged, the endless speculation only kept the drama front and center. Then came whispers of reshoots and costly VFX modifications in response to the backlash. Insiders suggested that the film had become a patchwork of clashing ideas. Part nostalgia, part forced modernization. As the budget ballooned, fans wondered whether Disney's attempt to fix the movie would only make things worse. Through it all, Rachel remained in the public eye, occasionally dropping comments that reignited the firestorm. By this point, it didn't seem to matter whether the movie was good or bad. For many, it had already been overshadowed by Rachel's off-screen persona. What began as a straightforward revival of Disney's first princess tale had morphed into a swirling storm of modern-day controversies. Rachel Zegler's casting initially sparked excitement, but her subsequent comments and actions turned her into a lightning rod for criticism. From political outbursts to dismissive remarks about the original film, each misstep seemed to push Disney deeper into crisis mode. However, as I briefly mentioned at the outset of this episode, with the release date now creeping closer, even with the delays, one question looms. Can the movie possibly recover from so much bad press? Some argue that even bad publicity could drive curiosity, tempting people into theaters. But others predict disaster, citing vocal boycott campaigns and widespread disillusionment among Disney's core fans. Whatever happens, one thing is certain. This saga stands as a stark reminder of how one casting decision and the actions that follow can derail even the grandest of plans. So where does Disney go from here? Do they continue reimagining beloved classics at the risk of further alienating their audience? Or do they rethink their approach entirely? End quote. The only time will tell if the House of Mouse can reclaim the magic that once seemed unshakable, or if they've just handed the magic mirror a harsh, irreversible truth. One thing's for sure, the drama surrounding Snow White is far more compelling than anyone ever expected. Stay tuned for more twists and turns in Hollywood's most controversial remake saga. And remember, sometimes all it takes is one ill-timed comment to turn a dream role into a PR nightmare. No magic apple required.